topic for today is 6 thinking hats. And before we get started, I just need to tell you that if you don't know what the 6 thinking hats are by now, I have to ask you a question. That is, how on earth do you solve problems, deal with arguments, and make decisions in life and trading and investing? But I do forgive you, because these are the type of psychology things that we do not learn in school, which we should be learning. And in fact, when I first read about this psychology aspect, it affected every part of my life, including trading. So I'm just checking Facebook to see if we are streaming. Yeah, it's looking good. And Dr. Sam, you can also move around, and you have permission to, explore the room and go different places, just to change it up for the Facebook people that don't want to see my face throughout the entire event. Okay, so let's start with the man himself, Edward de Bono. He is a world-renowned lateral thinker, writer, and philosopher. And I don't know if you've heard of Edward de Bono. Shiseki, have you heard of him?
I don't think I have, actually.
Believe it or not, this is the man who actually coined, or let's not say coined, but used the term for the first time, lateral thinking. So we're talking about a big boy. We use this term every day in life, and now we're going to learn one of his greatest strategies. So he was born in 1933 in Malta, and he achieved a number of degrees and has published over 85 books, mostly on thinking and the use of the language. But out of all his works of art, there is one popular technique that changed the world, and that is 6 thinking hats. So here's how it works before we go to the next slide. There are 6 different imaginary hats, with each having a different color. And each time you put on the imaginary hat, it changes the way you think about something. It also helps you see better with clarity and with a different perspective. So whether you're having an argument, making a decision, solving a problem, building a business, or creating a trading strategy, the 6 thinking hats is the thing to use to streamline the process. And if you're with more people, then make sure that you always put on the same thinking hat, just to avoid conflict. All right, so let's get into these 6 thinking hats. Any questions so far? Right. So the first thinking hat is white: facts, information, data, and figures. And before I give my input on what it is and how it relates to trading, maybe you can share what it would be when you put on the white thinking hat. Martin.
No, I'll have to pass on this.
Good. Richard.
Hey.
What would you believe when you put on the white thinking hat with trading? What do you believe that is going to entail with the decisions that you make?
Crumbs. Thinking clearly, looking at the data maybe, I don't know.
All right, good. No, I like it. Shiseki, any thoughts?
So it sounds like this, how do you describe this? Like epistemologically independently verifiable data, like independent of culture, person, that sort of. So for example, scientifically evaluated, laws, rules, data, etc. No, it shouldn't. You can have opinions about it, but this is the source from which you're trying to do this. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. What I forgot to mention is the white hat is the neutral view. So it ties in very much with what you're saying. So just so I can explain, the white thinking hat, as soon as you put it on, let me just see, I've got my amplified voice. As soon as you put your white thinking hat on, this is what contains all of the information, all of the facts, all of the data, the figures, metrics, and statistics. And when it comes to trading, there are certain facts that you need to have to consider when you are becoming a trader. And that is, for example, what broker are you choosing? The affordability. So how much money can you afford to risk on your portfolio? The costs involved. Have you done enough research to look at the facts of the costs that are going to get involved? The equipment that you're going to use to trade, your back testing, forward testing, and real testing data and statistics with your strategy. So these are all the given. They are all the information that you don't have to think about too much, in that it varies because they are facts. Okay? Let's move to the second thinking hat. And people on Facebook, can you show me some love and ask me questions or say anything and let me know if you know about the sixth thinking hat? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Next one we have is, just hold on a second. So Dr. Sam, I want you to look at the multi-trader and I will look at FSP Invest, okay, in case there's questions. Dr. Sam?
I can hear you, Timon, yeah.
Okay, just hold on a second. I'll be 2 seconds, or let me be more precise. 30 seconds. Just want to see if all is going well. Yes. All right. So, hello everybody. Oh wait, that was a pre-recorded video. There we are. All right, so we've got 100 people watching at the moment. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the emojis, but I also want to hear your thoughts. So the second thinking hat that involves with your trading is the emotional view. So now you can tell me what you believe the second thinking hat for today with trading and the decisions you need to make. Let's go with Dr. Sam. What do you believe it is?
Timon, if we can just go back to the white hat.
Yeah.
To the facts and figures.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on where you are in the life cycle of investment. So for example, if you take off the white hat as a young novice trader who makes the decision that I'm now going to invest, the error that's made by a lot of young investors is they forget to put on that cap. What happens is they develop an opinion, they are influenced by the media, influenced by their peers, and just jump into investment. So that is the early starter. Eventually they do put on the hat or they lose all their money.
Now,
so as you progress down
the hats,
as you progress down that life cycle, as you progress down the life cycle, you start developing gut feelings, intuition, and that's purely from experience. And I think we've got to be very careful from a gut feeling of a novice and a gut feeling of somebody who's been in the market 10 or 15 years, that has reviewed the facts, understands the facts, but just gets a gut feeling. And you often get that when you read through a prospectus or an IPO, and you look at the CVs of the people promoting that IPO. You develop a gut feeling. So that's my understanding.
Okay, so when you put on the white hat, the thing with the 6 thinking hats, and this applies to not only trading but in every aspect in your life, you need to be in that frame of mind of what are the facts, information, and data that I have, and keep to that, compartmentalize it into that hat. When you move into the red zone, the red hat, this is where the external influences are going to change the way you think and feel about certain things. So as soon as you mention Bloomberg, CNBC, Sky News, there is only one thing: the red. Because the red and green are flashing in front of the screens, the music's loud, it's blaring, they're screaming, Jim Cramer is about to have a heart attack. And what does that do to the audience? It influences their decisions on an emotional basis rather than a factual basis. So the second hat when you put on, which is the red hat, is where you got to come to terms with what you feel. So I'm talking about your intuition. I'm talking about your fear, greed, and gut feeling. And when it comes to trading, you need to ask yourself these questions, because you need to acknowledge your feelings that you have, right? You need to acknowledge, can you handle the risk of money that you're putting in? Do you feel you have the discipline to pursue your trading on a weekly basis? Do you enjoy the idea of trading itself? What about how much money can you psychologically handle when you deposit into your trading account? How much money do you think you can psychologically handle if you take 10 losing trades in a row? Very important question, which I know I've been delaying the drawdown method for future events, but things pop up and I just keep delaying. And the other thing is, do you think you can sleep at night knowing that you have money tied up in the markets? So when you have this video, you can actually go back and write those questions down and then answer it exactly and see how you feel as a trader. And the thing is with the 6 thinking hats is that, let's step away from trading. When you get into an argument or you disagree with someone, and your spouse or your partner is screaming at the top of their lungs, that is not a way to deal with conflict. That is not a way to deal with arguments, because there is no rationality and logic, and there's no process in coming towards it to find some form of resolve within the argument where you have met a compromise and a mutual decision on it. And so that's why I'm saying is this can affect any form of your life. When you get into an argument, say, all right, remember I spoke about the 6 thinking hats. Let's put our red hat on for 2 minutes, discuss it with all our rage, then let's stop and let's put on the other hats to come to a resolve, so that we've dealt with all of the aspects towards the conflict. And you got to do the same with trading. You put on your red hat so you can acknowledge your feelings towards the view of when you are taking a trade. And once you go through all of the feelings, you can then answer the questions and you can move on to the third hat. The third hat is the yellow hat. And this is the positive view. So, I'm sure you want to answer this now. Jiahua, welcome. Are you a trader, investor? And how did you hear about this event?
Well, I like to see what's going on. I'm neither, but I've always been interested in markets, and I have a background in political science, and so obviously there's some overlap in interest here, and I just like to hear people who have information on this subject, what their informed view is.
Excellent. All right. And also you learn other things other than trading and investing. You know, you're building a community of new friends who have similar interests, psychology, so when you take your VR headset off, you've learned something, and also the trading and investing that you can have at the back of your mind, because it's something that I do recommend for most people to create different forms of income or different streams of income. So very welcome, and thank you for being here. What are your thoughts on the yellow hat, Flopper Chip?
Still can be a blinding diversion to the right result, can't they? I tend not to use any of kind of feelings.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I would. Yeah.
Let's take away feelings from now, because we do need to get these hats understood, and that is, you're trading for a reason. Is that correct? Or for a number of reasons? You're not trading to lose money, are you?
It doesn't bother me. I still get a buzz out of it.
All right. So isn't that a benefit towards the reasons why you are into trading when you put on the yellow hat?
I don't know. In the early years, you got a sense of winning when you was out when you pulled out the market, when you was up more than what you put in. But that seems to I tend not to care. I tend to look over a long time period and see that my maths is doing what it should do, and then I get my feedback. That's when I get my happiness.
Yes.
And I know that the maths is working.
So maths is definitely a form of an optimistic view as to why you're doing it and reason towards it. And you've got to put on the yellow hat sometimes, take away that complete objectivity, and actually say, why are you pursuing this? Why are you spending every day or every week on it? And there are some good reasons towards it. Mr. Shazombi, yes.
I was going to say that I wonder whether this slide specifically reflected the forms of value that you were hoping to attain, but only focusing on the positive potential value.
That's correct.
So, if so in the case of Flubberchip here, who is looking at more intellectual things rather than the direct benefits potentially of cash, looking at hard and fast cash, but checking out whether his process is correct or something. Well, that's also another form of value that you're getting.
Yeah.
It's just anyway. That's
Fulfillment. Yeah.
And that's definitely that. As soon as you put on your sun hat, you remember why you're doing this in the first place. It puts it into perspective. And I forgot this probably about 3 years ago, where I was trading and I forgot why. About 3 years ago, I just kept trading and I forgot the reasons why I was doing it. And then I broke down these hats, and I just saw the bigger picture. You see the bigger game plan, and you see the reasons to pursue in it. And it goes about with anything and everything. The people that you have in your life, why do you have them? What are the benefits? What are the why are you optimistic to have them? The events that go through in your life, the decisions you make with your work, it's endless. The time that you spend, for example, you being in this room, there is nothing greater than you can give somebody than their time. And I'm personally honored for you to be here for when it's an hour or an hour and a half. But I do understand that you do have some form of benefits of being in this room. Whether it's just a form of entertainment for Jiahua, which is perfectly fine, or it's ways to eventually, get into ideas of what trading and investing is about, or because you're bored and you just want to hear somebody's voice. Whatever it is, those are the yellow hats that you put on. All right? Does anyone want to say anything else? Martin?
No, I don't think I can add to that.
Okay, Dr. Sam, anything you want to add to that?
No, I totally agree, Timon.
Alexandra?
I think it's quite critical sometimes.
Why are you here?
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Basically, with anything we do in life, we have a goal, right? We have a point of doing it. So we have to sort of look at the perks of it or the benefits or what we want to get out of it and basically focus on that. I mean, that's basically why we do anything in life, right?
Absolutely.
For the positive or the benefits we get out of it, exactly.
Absolutely.
So those are different. Those are definitely facts that need to be taken into consideration.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So now, the yellow hat, now we're going to have to go back to trading, of course, as this is a trading event. So this is the hat you'll find that you want to leave on. This is a hat that you want to just keep on all day, every day, right? And basically, with the 6 thinking hats, the yellow hat is the one that has all of the benefits and the rewards. And when you put on this hat, there are a number of rewards and benefits that you think of, including why are you trading? How much money do you want to make with your trading? Why will your trading strategy work? Remember that. You've got a strategy and there's a reason why you're trading it. So put on your yellow hat and say, why that strategy out of all of them? What are your goals as a trader? And why is trading the best decision for your future? And then when you've got the yellow hat on, you're going to feel good. And that's what you're supposed to do when you put on the yellow hat. Bowie, hello there. Are you a trader or investor? Welcome to my event. Feel free to say hello or nothing at all. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just got here. I just got here, so I just usually join random events and just listen in.
Great. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
So now let's move to the 4th hat of the 6 thinking hats. And that is the green hat, the green beret. I think that has a different connotation to what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, the green hat, which is the out-of-box thinking hat or the creative view. So what are your thoughts? Jiwahua, I challenge you to tell me, what do you believe the green hat is when it comes to creative thinking for when you're creating a trading or investing strategy?
I think it's just gut feeling because I don't have any hats regarding this subject. It's when you are willing to open your mind to different ideas, different thinking. It's when you set aside all of your other thoughts and feelings on an issue and are receptive to a wildly different perspective.
Absolutely. And there's one word that encapsulates everything that you say. Imagination. If you can use your imagination for creating new ideas and for brainstorming, you will find that you'll be able to answer questions and deal with problems in ways that you've never imagined before. And even being at this event, if there is nothing that you learn on trading, you've put on your green hat because you now have an imagination that's going on other aspects of your life, of saying, where am I creative? With my imagination is what can I do to enhance my think tank process? Does anyone want to say anything else about the green hat? Dr. Sam, with trading maybe?
No, Timon. I think, I mean, one can't have too much imagination when it comes to investment. You can have new ideas in terms of new instruments that might be available. But in terms of imagination, I've never used my imagination to invest, so I'm going to give it a miss.
Okay. Welcome, Matt the Science Penguin.
Yes, hello.
What is the penguin?
Penguin for
Why is penguin for Halloween? Okay, interesting choice. It's not very scary unless it's got teeth. Okay, so the topic for today.
Penguins are very strong.
Yeah, carry on.
Emperor penguins are very strong. They have to survive in very, very cold regions.
They're very strong because they have to choose a partner for life. And then that's it. Once they give that pebble away, there is no other pebble that that penguin will give to any other penguin.
Yeah, I like that.
No, no.
It's a beautiful thing, but if you choose the wrong partner, you're fucked.
Well, I chose the right partner.
Okay. All right. So the topic for today, before I go off topic, is Six Thinking Hats, Math the Science, Penguin. This is Edward de Bono, who basically created a decision making process on when you put on a certain hat, you make certain decisions within the realm of a problem or a business or even a trading strategy. So the white hat are facts and figures, the net neutral view. The red hat is the emotional view. Are we on 3? The 3 is the yellow hat, the sun hat, which is optimism and benefits. And now we are on the creative view. How to sum up an event in 30 seconds. Okay, so the creative view, does anyone else want to say something about the creative view? Ali, yes.
Sorry, that was an accident with putting the hand up, but I would put the color green for growth as well. So without creativity and imagination, one cannot grow, whether it's as a person or especially in the financial field with making your profits grow.
And
so I think it's an ideal factor to have in an ideal hat as well.
And I have to agree, because Warren Buffett and Benjamin Graham, as much as Dr. Sam, you believe they don't have an imagination, you have to have an imagination to create a criteria to follow each time within a strategy over 50 to 60 years. That strategy is all a personal trait of what suits them best. They're not going around and asking people what to buy and sell. They have the strategy, they follow it, and that's it. Same with my multi-trader system premium program. I don't ask people what I should trade next. I look at the system, I look at the watch list, and when it lines up, I send a trade based on the criteria that lines up. Remember, my strategy is my strategy is my boss. And if I don't follow the strategy, I'm going to lose money or get fired. And the strategy is going to continue working with or without me. So remember that. And you got to be humble that you do not control your strategy controls you. If you are, how do I say it? Discretionary towards your strategy, you're going to lose. Okay, so let's just get back into the green hat. And that is, with every decision comes extra forms of out-of-the-box thinking. And this is when you put on the green hat, right? You put on your green hat. I need to mute someone. I can hear I don't know if it's you, Doc. There's an echo. I don't know if it's...
Everyone can just put mute.
Dr. Sam, I don't know if it's you. Just drop your alt space to 25 and your microphone to 70, please. So when you put on the green hat, this...
I'm on mute.
Okay. Then I don't know. It might be me.
It has stopped now.
Oh my gosh, I had the wrong microphone on. Sorry, that was me.
Yes, it's better.
Okay, but it didn't go on for too long, did it?
No, not at all.
Okay, I apologize. I don't know why alt space would change my microphone. I only assume it unplugged by itself quickly. All right. So the green hats. Do you have a question, Shazambi?
I was actually going to make a comment, or I guess a sort of a warning, or to I mean, these ideas of these colors, I mean, I think they're more of an index rather than... earlier you mentioned about green being representative of growth, etc. I mean, the thing is that that's a cultural dependent thing. Like in China, green is death.
Yes.
Gold, yellow is gold, is benefits. So, I mean, it's useful to be able to identify them and go, okay, hat number 4 or green or something to help you to remember these things. But I wouldn't hold too much sway to the individual colors having some sort of cultural or other types of meaning. and obviously for colorblind people, this isn't going to apply anyway. So
I have to agree, and the thing is, I have to keep the colors according to Mr. Edward de Bono, the master himself.
Sure.
But that's the reason why most people just put on top hats inside their memes or images. But I actually put certain hats to show what that means. So beret. When you think of that, you think of an artist, for example. Not the green beret, but you know what I mean. So that's the reason why I chose these type of hats. But I do agree 100%. Red, for example, is emotions and fiery in one case, and then in India it's life and purity. And I understand 100%. But I got to stick to the author himself in this case. But maybe we can have a chat with him to change it. The 2020 version. I don't know how old he is now. It was in 1933. I don't even know if he's alive, but it's, I'll keep saying is. Nick, welcome to the Facebook chat. You should be here so that we can hear your thoughts. The topic for today to my Facebook group is the 6 thinking hats. When you put on a certain hat, you think about different things with your trading, investing, and in life in general. So the fourth topic was, the fourth hat is ideas and imagination. And let me just get back to this. So this is the think tank process. With trading, there are so many ways to be creative. And Dr. Sam, there are so many ways to be creative with investing. And you'll find that with ever evolving markets, you'll need to adjust and adapt course exactly. So some things to think about. When you put on your green hat, ask the questions. How can I let my winners run further? How can I increase my win rates? What indicator can I use for peripheral vision with my confirmation on each trade? Oh, I had 3 more. Let me just give me a second. Okay, so this is also a psychology thing, but I should print or I should create psychology sticky notes to stamp on my wall so that when I'm trading, I read it and it encourages me to stick to my strategy, to stick to my plan. I should find ways to tweak my system to help with the performance better. I should have this goes out to the multi traders out there, I should have a trading consultation with Tim on to help build and optimize my trading strategy better. Okay. So do you see how this all involves creativity? It all involves an imagination of saying, how do I do this? And then what do I do to do that? And then once you've come up with your ideas, then you can put on your other hats and go through the process. Does that make sense? Every decision that you make, from starting a problem, starting a business, dealing with a process, all involves a form of imagination. What is going to come out of my mouth? What am I going to think about? How am I going to present myself? How am I going to market myself? Everything involves imagination and green. Okay. Now let's move to the next hat. The fifth hat for the 6 thinking hats is blue. And blue, oh, my cat just responded to me. Blue, okay. Blue is the process view. Who wants to tell me some ideas on what the process view is when it comes to trading? Matt the Science. I can feel you know. You've got the name Science in your username.
Today I watched a video from you where you said VR is much better for this kind of stuff because people have full attention in here because they can't look on their phone or something. But you're totally wrong. I was writing a text message right now and I have no idea what you just said.
Wait, how did you write a text message? You got to tell me that. How are you writing notes and text messages?
I can't see my phone through that.
Oh, so you've created like an augmented reality in some way.
No, it's just the hole for my nose. I can see my telephone when I when I look through it.
I remember with the Samsung VR, I could put on a setting where you can see through the VR, so you can choose whether you want to have a solid background or something where you can see where you are in the room. Do you have that with the Oculus?
Only the
Yeah,
home
it's
screen. You can do this.
just a hole for the nose. It's for the airflow that it doesn't get.
Okay.
Yeah, it's natural
Yeah.
physical space that you can actually peek your
Yeah.
eyes down. You know that. Some people buy things to block that, but it's useful. I think. Like I'm looking at my laptop through it while I take notes on your
Oh, wow.
presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, but the Oculus
no one
does
is
have
paying
a
attention.
pass-through. It's just very low resolution, so you can't use it that way.
I think in
It's
the
infrared, isn't it?
I think in the near future you're going to find ways to go onto Facebook while you're at events, take down notes, which is super important, especially at these educational events. Ways to maybe watch YouTube, you know, bit of porn late at night.
I could
You
open
you
up
gotta
a-
have all the freedom to do whatever you want.
So
I'm sure
you
there's
can.
going to be integrations where they can open up a virtual desktop display inside VR, where you'll be able to see your desktop and interact in the VR space. I think
You-
that's where
you can.
Facebook is heading with it. Yeah, that's a virtual
you
office
can, yeah,
space
with
concept.
Virtual machines, you can open a browser up and go to a virtual machine.
Can you do that still on Altspace? I know they took away browser.
Yeah, I'm in a browser now. I don't know if the browser supports the virtual machine, but yeah, I'm in a
Okay.
browser. and
I mean, they're always going to work on it. There's always going to be improvements. So let's then move to back to you, Flapperchip. What are your thoughts on when you put on the blue hat?
Systems, criteria, and planning.
I was just going to say spot on, but I forgot that I wrote it on there.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It's in blue.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's correct. That's correct. You know, you can't go wrong. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe planning what in such a trading. Maybe an algorithm to try and perceive the future.
I mean, that is the main word for when you put on that blue hat. Planning process is basically what you should have at the top of the mind. No pun intended. Shazambi, yes.
Yeah, a list of processes. Yeah, a list of processes. And when you say systems, is that the type of hardware and the response rate to the server and things like that?
I think it depends on the terminology used in general. So when I say system, basically you have a criteria on the entry, stop loss, and take profit with your trading systems. When you say strategy, this involves the works. This involves psychology, the markets you choose. It involves everything. So yeah, Shazambi, yes.
I was going to say, so I'm not a trader, I'm a software developer, but the difference between this particular slide and the very first slide is whereas this one is the implementation of what it is that you're doing.
Correct.
So you're taking a process and you're making it manifest as this is going to, for example, automatically buy or sell, or this is going to be triggering you to make some sort of decision or something like this. Whereas the very first slide was more about state. So it's sort of about what information do you have at any particular time and trying to analyze that. So just as a comparison between those two slides, because I think they are, in some respect, sort of linked together. Like if you have a bad system and you're pulling in data from the wrong place, or you're accidentally feeding information, you know, whatever it is, you're corrupting it, then that will feed back into your very first hat, which is you're interpreting a bunch of information, but how much can you really rely on it? Or, you know, how is this up to date, or etc., etc. And the systems that you're putting in here, you have to have an understanding of that state. You have to understand how that information works in order to build these systems. So the two of them are sort of related.
Thank you, Shazambi. You actually helped me with writing a little bit of my article that I'll be sending out on Monday. That sums it up so beautifully. There is a word that I used in the beginning of the seminar or webinar. I don't even know what to call this event, where I said that when you put on the white hat, this is the given information. And given information is static. When you put on the blue hat, you're using the given information and all the other hats, and you're creating variables within the information. So when you have a process and planning, all of a sudden, these are not facts anymore. These are not data. These are variable inputs that you'll have, that once you've done the works and you've done the planning and the process decision making, then you can throw it into the white hat and start all over again. So I don't know if that makes sense. Matt,
Can we read your articles?
Sorry, Matt, you want to read my articles?
Yeah, where?
Just send me your email address and I'll add you to the database. You can send it to me via message and then I'll look it up later on the computer. If anybody else wants to get my emails, but I know you 95% of you are already.
I will send it to you on Facebook.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll remember you. I'll definitely will remember you. Can't forget a penguin. Okay, so, and same with you, Jiwa Hua. You can go to the Facebook group, Mati Trader. You can also go to my new group that I started on Instagram called VR Digital Citizens. Matt the Science, I think I used your accent. So instead of saying we are digital citizens, I say VR digital citizens. So you can go there on Instagram. You can also go to Mati Trade at Facebook, and you can go to timonandmati.com. All the information is up there, and if you want to send me a message or an email, I'm ready for you. So the blue hat, does anyone else want to mention anything else about the blue hats before we move on? Derek, you've been here a while. Look like you've been sleeping most, but welcome. I don't know if you're a trader or an investor, or you're just ready to sing a song.
I think he's praying right now.
Oh, praying. Okay.
Yeah, I'm playing right now.
All right. Well, enjoy it.
Time to thank you.
Okay. So now,
So
yes, carry on.
yeah, I mean, well, so my mentor in life, who recently passed away, he was actually a bonds analyst for several years on Wall Street, and then moved on to being sort of a corporate fixer where he ran companies while they were going through transition. I mean, he was in manufacturing as well. So when he approached problem solving, like he was huge on learning everything possible about an issue and then applying, as he called it, a workman-like process to working through the problem. So he was very huge about once you understand what you're working with, you actually have to apply a system process to getting from point A to point B. Failing to do so, you're just flailing in the wind. You're not actually going anywhere. You know, it's completely like taking shots in the dark. What you're saying sounds a lot like the way he actually looked at problem solving. So I was just throwing in a commentary on that.
I mean that just is, a big coincidence that your mentor thought like that, and now you're at an event similar to this, or subconsciously you've been through a lot, you've read a lot of psychology, and so you thought 6 thinking hats, you've seen it before, and now you're here. But thank you for that view, and I agree 100%, because when you're not going through a thinking process with all the compartments that you need to go through, there are voids that will fill up. And as soon as you start discussing and thinking differently, and you start using your brain, because they say you use 10% of your brain, which is now a fallacy, because you use 95% of your brain, but you use different parts of your brain, but not at its most optimal level. You use it within the fractals of the integration of the neurosynapses and neuroplasticity. And the thing is with the 6 thinking hats is as soon as you put on the yellow hat or the red hat or the blue hat, new parts of the brain are sparking. New questions are coming up. And before you know it, you're answering questions that you never thought you had. You're creating demand within your own solving and processes. And that's why you got to go through them systematically. And the only thing that I got to say, unfortunately, we can't change the colors because that's what Edward de Bono made. But we can change the order of the hats. So unfortunately, I've left the negative one for last. And maybe you want to move that to the beginning. But with trading, the most important thing is you got to consider the negatives and not end up with the positives, because the negative is going to be what keeps you in the market, if that makes sense. So when you put on the blue hat, you got to think of 3 main things, as Flapperchip said: systems, criteria, and planning. This is where you'll choose the criteria you'll follow within your trading strategy. What indicators are you using? What parameters are you using within those indicators? What time frame works best? What calculators do you need whenever you're trading? And this is the main work that takes place. And once all the planning is done, and once you've got your strategy and you've got everything to help grow your portfolio, then you can sit down and say, now I know what to do. But the problem is, people jump blindly into the markets. They jump blindly into trading. And why? Because they read a marketing piece. They read a landing page. They watched the video. They watched Bloomberg. They saw this guy flashing money in cars. Listen, if you're flashing money when you're a trader, then you're not using that money to grow it even further. So what are you actually doing? And compounding is the most important thing when it comes to growing an account, right? And if you're flashing and you're marketing and you're making landing pages, your priority is not within the value that you provide to the people. Your priority is the money that you'll make to be selling the dream. Okay. Let's move on to the 6th hat. The 6th hat is the black hat. Very, very relevant to Halloween coming up. And the 6th hat is the negative view. Dr. Sam, I've missed your voice. Talk to us. Yes? No? We can't hear you. I can see you unmuted yourself. Okay. Let's move to...
Okay, no,
okay,
no,
yes.
now you can hear me.
Yes, now I can hear you.
I'd switched off my... Timon, just move the slide a little bit across to the...
I actually can't.
left.
That's the end.
See it more accurately.
That's the end.
Oh, that's the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the most I can move it to. It's quite amazing that I could fit that whole long post into one image. I mean, that is the big difference between a PowerPoint presentation and Altspace. You can just continue sliding in one go without any interruptions. Works like a charm. Yes, Dr. Sam, what are your thoughts on the negative view when wearing your black hat?
So I think everything in life, there's always a risk of negativity, and I don't think anybody has gone through life where you haven't experienced a negative or adverse event. And I think certainly with investing, one does go through a number of difficulties, and those difficulties are either created by yourself, by not following your strategy, or created by the environment or a black swan situation. And the final one I see there, you've got risk. As much as one wants to be wise and you apply all your hats when investing, there is an element of risk. We know there's an element of risk, and you need to understand the risk. And I think if you understand the risk, then you're quite careful how much of your portfolio, your investment portfolio, is in, for example, stocks. So that's my thoughts on it.
And you're spot on. Difficulties, the risks involved, you got to consider all these things. Let's see. We've got Shazambi. Do you want to share thoughts on the negative view or the black hat?
It is quite interesting, isn't it? Because compared to the other one, which was like the yellow hat, where you were mostly looking at, like, from a value perspective, you were saying this is some of the stuff you could get. I was expecting a negative equivalent, but things like risks is more than just value. This is, you're analyzing the system or analyzing weaknesses, problems. This is not just your money will get less. It's yeah, I don't know. It's more abstract than the other one. The other one is, if I do this, these are the possibilities, and then you'd think, oh, the negative is the inverse of that, but it's not. It's, yeah, I don't know.
So I think when it comes to the black hat, we've got to have the question, and that is what if? What if?
Okay.
Once you have what if, then you can start asking the questions within it. Ali, yes, your thoughts.
Yeah, I think, well, if you take difficulties, problems, weaknesses, and risks into consideration, and you know what you're up against, sometimes it also helps with limiting them as well, so that your benefits can be greater in the process. Obviously, you are going to have some difficulties and risks, but the more you know of them and the more aware you are of them, the more you can also limit them, which is obviously beneficial as a conclusion.
And I've got to add on.
That's mine.
I've got to add on to that with the idea of balance, because every decision that you make, it has to have a balance of good and bad. And I'll come to trading now, but for example, in a relationship, if the bad is outweighing the good on a continuous basis, you know that something is not right and it needs to change dramatically, or it will break and the empire will fall. And the same with when you are building a business. If you are selling something that no one is using, for example, let's say Windows 97, and you're so adamant, you've got so much passion for your Windows 97, and don't laugh, we've actually met people who came to the house and they are obsessed with Windows 97, and they created coding and programming around 97, and they never moved to the next computer. Can you hear me? Okay.
I think it was 98.
Yes, can hear you well.
It was 98.
Yes.
98.
98.
All right, 98. If
Oh,
it's part of
Very
the
loud lightning.
it's part of the Halloween theme I've got going. I just press this button and lightning kicks in. I'm glad I have that on film. And now I've lost my point of view, frame of mind. What was I saying?
Keeping a balance.
Keeping a balance with what you're doing. You need to find with what outweighs what. So relationships, business, problem solving, processes. And then when it comes to trading, the most important thing is, okay, I've got a system. Is it yielding results? Have I back tested, forward tested, and real tested, and is it showing a positive outcome? If it's showing a negative outcome, you got to change it or dump it. It's simple as that. And sometimes it can just take one tiny little weakness for all the hats to be disregarded and for you to now start over from the beginning. Okay? So here's my thoughts on the black hat. When you put on the black hat, 4 things should arise instantly. These 4, okay? And I've saved the last hat for last because it will most likely decide whether the trading is for you or not, okay? But you can arrange the hats obviously in your own orders. But the main things that you need to consider with the black hat with trading are the following. What are the dangers of trading? So the risks, the financial risks, and the time risks. What if the system stops working? Why are we skeptical about trading? What if the current markets go into an unfavorable territory? And what if the market, this is the most important question I always ask, what if the market drops to zero when I'm in a long trade? Always have that in mind, because I've seen it. 19 years, I've seen it. I've almost experienced it. I've seen it with currencies. I've seen it with indices. I've seen it with stocks. And you got to have that in mind, because when people put on their yellow hats and they see this gearing of 100 and 500, then what happens? They say, I can make a lot of money. They say, I can make a lot of money. And when the market drops to zero, they would have lost 500 times more than what they put in, excluding costs. So have these questions in mind. Deal with it. And then weigh the pros and cons. Are you with a trading platform and broker where your gearing protects you? So I don't like trading more than 10 times, which unfortunately to people on Facebook and MultiTrader, I did stop trading Forex entirely. I do know how to trade Forex, but the risks are too great to continue. And that's why I took my black hat off and I said, I'm putting Forex aside until one broker and market maker, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, you know exactly who I'm talking about, drops your gearing a lot. 20 is okay. If you can drop it to 20 or 10, I'll be ecstatic. Then I'll jump right back on board. So there we go. How awesome. You have the 6 thinking hats at your disposal. Every decision and process you can now decide on these hats. And you'll find that it will force you out of your monolateral way of thinking, which you've habitually incorporated into your life. And now there's going to be fireworks exploding. You will see things with new perspectives and compartmentalize the issues that you have in new ways. It might even prolong your marriage. It might even improve your relationships. All right?